Yeah, I'd like to thank Mark and Firma. I just have one or two small questions. Based on the imported veg coming into this country, how much of an impact is that in keeping growers out of becoming growers or continuing growing in this country? And the second question I have for you then, on the case of waste, biodigesters, which can actually feed back into the energy market. What is your views on the biodigesters as coming on stream at the moment? There's 3 or 4 applications coming in at the moment for biodigestion, and what their role will be for the food waste and other waste that are coming within the farm sector. So they're basically the 2 questions that I have. And for what I want to do is I want to see the existing growers grow, and I want to see the next generation coming through. And if it's a case that something happens in Europe, I don't want Ireland to be seen as the food chain gets cut off and we have no food suppliers in this country and we're no longer sustainable ourselves. So from that point of view, how big is it to make sure that our own home growers keep growing, and the biodigestion as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, Deputy, for your question. As a rural organisation catering for people between the age of 17 to 35, keeping young people in agriculture is our priority. And as Liam already alluded to, we were quite disappointed to see the budget being cut for agriculture. Of course, the import of fruits and veg is an issue. It's another competitor. It's in every sector there. Our biggest issues when it does come to producers here in Ireland is the cost associated with it. That is one of the biggest things. The labour is another, the labour shortages is another issue facing our growers here in Ireland. And as we even said at the start, there is a very limited number of people in this sector. Access to land is a huge part to that as well. And we said as well, diversification, there is loads of challenges facing us. But this is something that we need to overcome, and this is something that the government need to assist us in overcoming. I'm going to hand us over to Liam, who's going to go into a tiny bit more detail in regards to the biodigesters and probably take his view as well on the keeping young people in.
Thanks, Deputy. As your question around food imports, the reality is it's economically disastrous to growers and to young growers in particularly, because it's the fruit and veg sector is it's a high capital investment sector to get into, and obviously access to land and access to finance are the 2 key pressures for young farmers, and that's getting even more and more pressurised at the minute. As we know, the amount of land being directed into other land use policies is massive. You take it for environment, for example, the wetlands and peatlands policy classifications, forestry classifications. It all takes land out of horticulture and fruit growing possibilities. Plus, we obviously have a tillage target, increased tillage by 25% in this country, and we can see from this year tillage is going backwards due to weather and price. Grain is back €100 a tonne. It's economically competing on the world market in fruit and veg doesn't really work. Fairness and transparency would be a key point for young growers, and I obviously welcome the agri-food regulator and the position that was brought in this year. Issues would include also the unpredictability of the dealings with retailers in terms of contracts, single-year contracts. If you want to buy your materials in bulk, you can only buy until the end of the year. If your contract finishes, you have no guarantee that you're going to be even in business next year.
On the biodigestion, I'm just conscious of the time.
Oh yes, and the biodigesters, I think it's an open door to push. I don't see why there can't be a cooperative structures opened up between growers to utilise this for reject food, can go back in their built up areas where there are hotels and restaurants which could be engaged with too, and for the whole supply chain to engage in that process.